Hello fellow mushroom hunters. I'm just checking on some patches and I wanted to share maybe some tips and help you out spotting some before you go out this year. It's Easter today, just so you know. This is the Appalachian Mountains, about 1,800 to 1,200 feet elevation, and we've been finding them for maybe about a week now, or maybe a week and a half, but they kind of faded out the initial, I guess flush is what you'd call it. But we always like to observe them and come back and keep an eye out and just watch how they live and according to the temperatures and things like that. So we've had a couple of good days of rain and the temperatures dropped after the initial flush. It was about a couple days of almost 80 degrees. And I think that dried some of them out. So I'm going to show you some that are past due that we've been watching. And then today I've been walking around with the dogs, exercising a little bit, and have found a bunch of new baby ones popping up. So hopefully I'll show you those also. Just to give you an idea of the forest area that I'm searching right now, this is kind of what it looks like. It's a mixed canopy. You've got a few black walnuts and some locusts, and a few different little oak varieties, lots of poplars. So it's moist because of the rain that we've had, and there's also a creek about 100 feet from me. But definitely a good bit of leaves on the ground. In regards to those, if you see an area that looks good otherwise, but the leaves are so thick it creates a thick mat, kind of like in this zone right here. Yeah, there's maybe 2 inches of leaves that are all layered up like that. And I have seen the mushrooms be able to poke out through those, but you'll spend a whole lot more time looking for them, and I don't think they like those zones quite as much as, say, something like this area over here, where it's got some leaves on it, but you can see that nice black rich soil under there. They're much easier to spot, and I think they prefer areas where they can reach out to get some fresh air and a little bit of sun. Not much. I've seen them in pretty much full shade, but they do need to reach out and get a little bit of light, I believe. So take note of that also. So here we've got a little baby one, and it's just teeny, and it looks like almost everything. So it's kind of like finding a 4-leaf clover. Once your eyes get used to it, and I've known a couple of friends of mine that can find those things almost everywhere they are in anyone's lawn. So it's one of those type of deals. When you get your eye practiced up, I think you'll always have better luck. So that's what this is hoping to accomplish here, because they are delicious, and it's such a fun little thing to do with the kids. And if you're out hiking, enjoying the outdoors anyway, you might as well look for a fresh gourmet mushroom meal. But see if you can see this one. I'm gonna zoom in slow. Let's try and spot it. I can barely see it myself. There it is. Look at how small that is. So, and that one's young. And if you watch these, they seem to only stay around for 5 days, 4 or 5 days, and that's if it's moist and kind of cool. I believe if it's sunny all of a sudden and hot, dry, they'll shrivel up quicker. But there's a little one right there, and I didn't see any other ones around it. But I think that when you go out hunting, you need to keep your eye out for these, because you may walk by thousands of these in search of the big honey hole of humongous, fat ones like you see in all the pictures. But if you get your eyes trained to these small ones, you can pick up plenty of these for a meal, and in my opinion, they taste better. So I didn't see any other ones around here, and instead of walking around with the camera and getting kind of wobbly, and me searching like that, it would be kind of a longer, more boring video. But I'm out here on this little trail. We walk a lot when I exercise the dogs, so it's easy for me to keep track of some of the ones around. So I know there's some up here ahead that I saw on my way in, so I'm gonna stop and show you those. and try and kind of keep it cut down so you don't just walk around all jiggly with me. Okay, so in this shot, there's 3 little baby ones that are just popping out. Let's see if I can see them. Gosh, they're so hard to see, especially looking through the camera. Okay, there's one right there. Little baby, about an inch tall or something like that. And there's 2 more little babies right there coming. So a couple more days on those and they'll be at their prime for picking. You could eat them now, I'm sure, but just to get a little more meat, a little more mushroom for your effort if you find them and are able to wait. But so there's 3 little ones that are on their way. And right over here, we've got one that's a full grown that was prime in our other video, and we left it just to watch. And so it's about 4 days past its prime. And I've seen plenty of people eat them like this, but I personally don't. It still feels moist, but the bugs and everything find them quick. Some kind of little mite likes them and will live in there. This one has a little bug hole at the stem right down there, see that? And they'll get in there and hide. So personally, I would just let that one go unless I was starving to death, which has never happened yet. So, but just to see what one that's past due looks like, and in this area would be worth checking some more. And I know there are a couple spread out in this zone, but we'll move on and try and find some more examples. There's a little one right there, right under that cohosh plant. Look at that. But it looks like the tip of it's been burnt or something. It's black. It's hard to say what exactly happened there. Okay, I'm going to show you 2 that we let go 4 days ago now. Little twins there. It's always sad taking one when there's 2 growing right next to each other, at least for me. But anyway, see how they're turning a little darker brown, kind of goldeny brown at the top. And I do believe, well, I know that those are edible, but that is not fresh. That is a little past its prime for these little poplar morels. Within 10 feet of that, there are fresh ones, small ones, starting to come up. See that hiding? Look at that. I mean, a lot of times, if I see one, or even if I don't, and the area looks good, really good to your eye, or you get that little spider sense tingle, like, oh, there might be one over there, just kind of squat down and get at this level. Kneel. Oh, look at that one. I didn't see that one before I was talking, but I think that that's a good advantageous thing to do, is just change your view. If you can't see from one way, just try and get a different angle. That one right there, little one coming through. You see the little one right there on the edge that's past due, shriveling up, smaller. Now in this particular spot, this tree is easy to recognize. It's got a little bowl of soil in it here. And there was a beautiful morel right inside that hole last year, and I left it just because it was such an easy one to find again. And I watched it, and I watched it go through its life cycle, and it has not been back this year. So I definitely think that just because you find 1 or 2 in a certain exact spot doesn't mean that the mycelium will fruit in that exact same area. So just something to remember. But right over here in this zone, about 8-10 feet away from that spot, there's one that's been knocked over and started to dry. Something broke its stem, and could have been a dog. I wouldn't bring dogs if I was really trying to do some serious hunting, because they get all interested in what you got going on, and you're all crouched down, and they can easily bang these fragile mushrooms over. But so there's one right there that's looking good, in about maybe a day or so past prime, but definitely a good eating there. So another little tip. In this area, right by the creek, you can see a good one if you can spot it, right there in the center of the frame. And it's a few days past due. I think 4 or 5 days. I found these about 5 days ago. So there's one right there. And if you see maidenhair ferns, there's another one right there, 3 inches tall maybe. If you see maidenhair ferns, they're noteworthy to take a peek underneath or around, just because they really are particular about their soil also. And they're these beautiful ferns right here, by the way. They have a black thin stem. They're easy to identify once you get used to them. They're very dainty and beautiful. So anyway, okay, we'll end on this one. This is kind of contradicts what I said earlier, and that happens almost every year. You'll find them where you just don't think you will. But this is a really thick, leafy, matted area like I was talking about. It's harder for them to poke out. But there's a beautiful one that I hadn't seen before, and it's somehow made it through, and looks beautiful. So we'll end it on that note. But for you guys and gals out in the Appalachians, Virginia, North Carolina, West Virginia area, oh, Patrick, come on out of there, buddy. We're right in the prime right here at Easter. So, and I do believe, weather depending, we've got a couple more weeks left. So have fun and get out there and hopefully get a couple of good meals out of it. Just one final note. Please just take what you need and leave some for others to find, or for nature to use and the natural occurrence of things. It's always devastating to hear about ginseng and golden seal and all kinds of other examples, Indian cucumbers, and all kinds of wonderful native plants that get poached and people sell them, and Lord only knows, freeze them, dehydrate them. And I'm not against that. I just recommend, when you do find something amazing, just to make sure you leave as many as you take. Thanks for watching.